Update. My soon-to-be ex-husband humiliated me on our wedding day and met his karma instantly. Original post. It has been 2 days since my wedding day. I had already been with him for 4 years, 1 year of which I was engaged. It all started a few months earlier when I noticed my husband Jake watching prank videos. Among other things, these videos showed embarrassing photos of the bride being played on a projector in front of the whole room, or the bride's face being smashed into the cake. I told him straight away that I didn't want anything like that at our wedding. He just laughed and said that he wasn't planning anything like that. I thought that was the end of it, but I kept catching him making strange arrangements with his friends. He suddenly wanted to choose the wedding photographer and the cake. I thought nothing of it and was just glad that he was helping me with the wedding preparations. Nevertheless, I reminded him the day before that if he did something like that, I would break up with him immediately. When the day of the wedding came, everything went smoothly until the ceremony, until the moment came when the cake was to be cut. The whole room watched as I made a first cut, and the photographer stood in front of us with the camera in hand. Suddenly, I felt a hand on the back of my head pushing me face first into the cake. Not only my makeup, but the whole wedding dress was ruined, and the whole room laughed, my husband the loudest. At that moment, the photographer took the photo and Jake said that this was now our wedding photo. I turned around, slapped him in the face and ran out of the room in tears. Thank God karma didn't take long to arrive and came in the form of his own brother. I ran to the toilet and started crying when I suddenly heard loud shouting from the hall. It was his brother Frank. I could barely understand what he was saying, and when I left the toilet, he was waiting for me. He told me that Jake had something to tell me. Jake was shaking and apologized without looking me in the eye. Frank told him to look me in the eye and apologize again. Even I was a bit scared of Frank at that moment because I had always thought of him as a kind and gentle man. I had never seen him angry before. Jake apologized again, and then Frank led us back into the hall, which was suddenly very quiet, and most of our families looked down at the floor a little embarrassed. The festivities were cut short, and I was taken home by Frank because I was too angry with my husband and I didn't want to see him. During the ride, Frank apologized for blowing up like that. He explained that my husband was horrible even back when he was a brother and used every special occasion to humiliate Frank. When it was Frank's birthday, my husband would throw his cake at him and break his presents. But back then, their parents always brushed it all off by saying that that's just how brothers behave. So he had to endure every humiliation. But when he saw my husband bury my face in a cake, he was fed up because he realized that my husband was just a bad person who got his satisfaction from humiliating others. I asked Frank if he thought it would be an exaggeration if I separated from my husband, and he said no, because according to him, I deserve better. And he didn't care how his brother felt about it because he had brought it on himself. Then he told me that if I needed help collecting my things, he would help me and gave me his number. And I decided to separate from him and file for divorce and informed Jake and my family about it. Jake just told me not to do that because it was just a harmless prank. I was spammed by both his family and mine that it would be ridiculous to end our marriage over this. But I see it differently. If he does something like this to me despite multiple requests not to do it, even after promising he wouldn't do it, then I can't trust him. No matter what he promises me, I have to assume that the opposite can and will happen, and that he doesn't care at all how I feel about his decisions. The situation can be projected onto so many much worse situations where it would be important for me to be able to trust him. His brother Frank seems to be the only one who supports me now, and I will go through with the divorce. Call me humorless, call me what you want, but I have given my reasons. Now for the top comments before reading the update. OP, I'm sorry this happened, but so proud of you. You warned him multiple times and he felt it was more important to get laughs than be a trustworthy partner. I don't know why people think humiliation is a prank. If you have to explain that it was a joke, it's not funny. Best of luck. P.S. Please let Frank know he's a good man, and we appreciate him having your back. Thank you for your support. See if you maybe can go for an annulment so you don't have to go through the divorce process. I don't know what the requirements for that are, but you really did the right thing in leaving him. Check with the wedding officiant. They may not have filed a marriage license yet. It's possible you could end it there, by tearing it up, rather than filing it at a courthouse. He lied and was disrespectful, obviously not the things you want in a marriage. Divorcing him now will save you from dealing with more boundaries being broken and heartache. You deserve better. Yes, that's what I've been saying. Stay strong. Honestly, I'd go no contact with those that are gaslighting you. They are disrespectful too. Hugs. It's hard going no contact with most of my family members, but I thought about keeping Frank around as a friend, even if he's the brother of my ex. Definitely keep Frank. He's proven that he's got your back. Start asking your family members why they think so little of themselves that they would stay with an untrustworthy partner. Make sure you sound concerned when you do it. They'll shut up quick. Now for the update. Many of you pointed out that I could get an annulment. Don't ask me why I didn't think of this earlier. But after you guys pointed it out, I plan on doing that. Haven't done it yet, but it will happen the next few weeks. It will probably be much easier than a divorce. With that being said, so a day after I wrote the original post, I went to Jake's apartment to get my stuff. I slept over at my best friend's house meanwhile. Of course, I also took up Frank's offer to help me getting my stuff. When we arrived there, he pleaded with me that it was just a prank and he didn't mean to hurt me. But the only thing I could think about is how he broke my trust before, and how I couldn't trust him now if he told me he didn't mean to hurt me. When he saw Frank, his face turned red, and he yelled at Frank and accused him of poisoning me against him. Don't worry, Jake, you did this to yourself. He argued with Frank for a while, and Frank confronted him with everything he did to him during his childhood. He told Frank to grow a pair and that he should forget about what happened back then. Ironic when he's the one who never changed, and it's just as bad as before. He constantly tried to talk to me, but Frank stood in his way and talked over him, and when we left, I saw how he angrily smashed the door. Apparently, he now spread lies to his family that Frank tried to steal me from him. Luckily, I was able to see who he really was before it was too late. What a coincidence that after this incident, my family spammed me with messages as well, about how we should talk to a therapist instead of breaking up over this. They only stopped when I threatened them to cut them off too. I told Frank about my post here, and Frank told me he read many of your comments. He said he liked your comments and that you made his day. I thought you might want to know this. This is probably the first and last update of this. I just want to get this behind me and look forward. But thank y'all for your support. Depending on the state you live in, you may need to file for annulment really soon, if not ASAP, or you already missed your chance. Check ASAP and don't put it off. Some debts of his may follow you if you are married when he incurred the debts, so get it done fast. Annulments have deadlines as far as I'm aware. In the previous post, some commenters suggested reaching out to the officiant to see if they mailed the paperwork in yet. Some don't mail it right away for situations like this. That would be even easier than an annulment, and I wanted to post here for visibility. My vote is for nuclear revenge. Agree to take Jake back only if he hosts a whole second wedding. One as identical to the first as possible. He has to do all the legwork and set everything up. He has 4 months to make it happen. Then just don't show up. Let all your family know. Let his brother know. No one else. By the way, this was mainly a joke. I hope no one takes it seriously. OP, I'm sorry you had to wait to find this all out this way, but it beats finding out in 2 to 3 years. Good luck in the future. I know it's a joke, but still, even if I took him back for that, it still would be way too risky in my opinion. Don't take that POS back. I just read both posts to my husband and we are both in awe what an a-hole that man is. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Next story. My husband thinks I slept with another man, but the reality is different. I caught my husband of 10 years cheating on me with multiple women. He bragged about how he was able to get laid. I know one woman who is 19 years old. It seems like it was just an ego boost for him. I always knew he had issues with his ego. He was a very insecure man. Whenever someone does something better than him, he would get jealous. Looking back, I regret choosing him, because I thought that he was a sweet person, so it didn't matter if he's a bit egotistical. When I found out that he was cheating, I left him and took my kids with me. I also exposed his affairs. He has since been begging me to take him back. I know for sure he is begging because his mom kicked his butt, and no one is taking his side. His last move is to make me reconcile with him so that he is somewhat acceptable. I refused, because all the things he said about me, about my body, he can never come back from it. I nearly died after giving birth to my son, and all he said was that my body's ruined. So my friend gave me an idea to hook up with someone else as a revenge. I was hesitant. I'm not someone who can do random hookups. So I staged a lie. With the help of my friends, I staged having a revenge affair. The last time he came to convince me, he said he cut off all contact with his affair partner and got himself into therapy. I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to crush his ego and crush his confidence. Told him that I slept with someone else. At first he didn't believe me. Told me I was lying. So I pulled out my phone where there was text exchange between me and a random guy, which was just me and my friends chatting. We exchanged pics, fake pics, and there were spicy messages. He started to believe me. He pestered to know more about this guy. I made up a story how he is someone I met at the gym. I can see him losing his mind. He started cursing me, "How can you do this to me?" He started asking me questions. Did you use protection? How many times did you do it? Did he make me come? The last thing that actually broke him was when he asked my friend about it. She's the friend with whom I'm staying currently. She lied to him and said that we were making noises all night. And I sent my kids to my mom's for that. I can see my cheating husband having a meltdown. He really thought he was all that. I might end up hooking up with a random person because I'm done with him and I'm done with our marriage. Now for the top comments. He sounds like a narcissist. You deserve better. To add more, he texted me and said I shouldn't think I'm better because I slept with a man out of my league. He will still not be with me and he just used me for release. Yeah, just add this to your evidence pile and contact a lawyer. See if he will leave the home so you can stay put. Unless you feel unsafe, then leave if you need to. Honestly, this is probably better than actually having a revenge affair. To be honest, my heart is still loyal to my marriage. No matter how much I hate him, he is still on paper, my husband. I cannot disrespect my vows. I say that is a good thing for now. It shows that you're a good person at your core, that even after he betrayed you, you feel that you can't do the same. It seems like it's all very recent still. I hope it gets better with time. All the best to you and your kids. I'm so happy for you, lady. A refreshing read to see a woman not backing down. Just another encouragement to stay away, as men like this are STD grab bags. Staying away from him is best for your health. God knows how long he has been cheating. I'm glad I'm clean. Last story. My boyfriend, possible fiancé, said that when he dies, he wants to be buried next to his late wife. For some context, my boyfriend was married to his late wife for 4 years and dated for 6 prior to that. They have a son together. I know my boyfriend, whom I'll name Glenn for the sake of the post, was deeply in love with her. They're high school sweethearts who got married in their 20s. He only began dating again like 8 years after her passing. Now, we've been together for 5 years and I'll admit that at first, I used to be jealous and insecure about Glenn's late wife. I thought that him still loving her meant he could never love me, and I was just supposed to be her replacement. We actually broke up in our first year. It only got together because of the next Valentine's Day. Glenn wrote me a letter professing what he felt for me and we decided to have a talk. I understood that our love and their love are different, and what he feels for her doesn't undermine what he feels for me. I tried to avoid the if she were alive kind of train of thought because it's hurtful for both him, me, and their son. We're together, and I firmly believe that's what matters now. During the years, Glenn and I have talked about marriage, but with how hectic my career has been in the market surrounding it, it didn't felt comfortable having a deeper talk until now. With holidays leaving our door, we decided to have a proper talk about marriage and what we want. We decided we want to get married and began talking about what was expected of it. Mid-talk, he stops and says that whatever happens, he's getting buried next to his late wife. Not gonna lie, this took me by surprise. I said there was no need to rush and we could talk about funeral arrangements later. He said we could, but that was done. When his wife died, he already set a double spot for when he passes away. He, and I kid you not, said he could give me the name so I could be buried near him. It was as bad as it is, honestly, but me, trying to keep the peace and be understanding, I asked why could it be buried next to him too? He has 2 sides after all. But he didn't like that. Oh, he didn't like that. I could see it in his face. He didn't say anything else, but it was written all over his face. I just stood up and said I had to go, nothing more. I guess he came to his senses or realized what he had implied because he called me next morning. This happened on Thursday, and he has texted me ever since. But I know it. This relationship is over. In the end, his always and forever is her and I get it. I respect it. That doesn't mean I have to like it. The relationship has never been bad. His surroundings is not a constant reminder of his late wife. He's not constantly bringing her up. I know I'm overreacting, but that look, as if me asking was stupid. Like there's no way I'll ever share that spot next to him. I'll probably answer him to have a talk next week, but I just know it. This is over. I'll never be able to forget that look in his face. It's awesome that he loved her so much, but you want to be with someone who loves you as much as he loved her. It's so sad he lost her. Knowing he plans his representation of eternity next to her and not you, you made a right decision for yourself. I think there's a big difference between him loving his late wife but having come to terms and move on with his own life. And that's what actually happened, where he seems to see his and Opie's relationship as less than. It's an awful situation, but like you said, Opie deserves unconditional love and not to be someone's backup option. You're not overreacting. With that involuntary facial expression, he told you how he really felt. Of course he's gonna be nice and tell you blah blah, but the truth is he's with you or any other woman because he can't be with a woman he really wants to be with. Good for you for putting yourself first. I wish you the best. And with what he said, that he could drop the name so she could be near him if she wanted, he didn't even care where she'd like to be buried, or if she even already had plans to. He doesn't even care if she would or wants to be buried next to him. Her option was totally reasonable. He could have been in the middle and they could be on either side. I feel like somebody already told Opie she's overreacting and this can be talked over. That's why she feels like that.